Welcome to Boomhauer 69's channel, and I saw this article on Popular Science called Microsoft is making it easier for customers to repair devices. Will other companies follow? Well, that's what the title is. And I'll read the article and then afterwards I'll give my thoughts on the whole thing. It says in June, a shareholder advocate advocacy ADVOCACY. I have a little trouble pronouncing certain words, so forgive me for that. Group called As You Sow, SOW, sow like reap what you sow, filed a shareholders resolution asking Microsoft to consider the way it restricts customers' access to device repairability. Other tech companies like Dell, HP, and Motorola have already begun making their devices more repairable, getting ahead of the right to repair legislation that may be on the cusp of passing. In the past, Microsoft had actively lobbied against the right to repair bills, but surprisingly, in October, as first reported by Grist, GRIST, Microsoft agreed to expand its repair option, supplying access to parts and its information needed for repairs. Microsoft even committed to conducting a study evaluating the environmental impact of device repairing. Evaluating, EVALUATING, the environmental impact of device repairability. This is the first time we've seen a major manufacturer step up to make the commitment, says Kyle Wynn, CEO of repair guide site iFixit. Amazingly, instead of telling the activist investors to pound sand, Microsoft said, "We're gonna do it." Here's why this cruel victory for rights to repair activists. What did Microsoft commit to? Right to repair is a movement that advocates for people's rights to repair their own devices and reduce e-waste by extending the life of electronic devices. Activists advocate for legislation that will force manufacturers to increase device repairability. It's the idea that if I buy an expensive thing, I should have access to parts, tools, information to fix it, says Wines. Unlike the step companies like Motorola have taken to improve device repairability, Wines, WIENS, says Microsoft commit goes above and beyond. They committed to improving the design of their devices to increase repairability and to have parts and service manuals available to the public by the end of 2022. But already Microsoft had taken steps towards increasing repairability when Microsoft Surface laptop came out in 2012. Wines, whose site grade text products on a repairability scale from 1 to 10, rated it a 0. It was the worst laptop I have ever scored, he said. Just completely unfixable, but the Surface 2 and 3 were redesigned to be more repairable. How did this happen? Using a tool often employed by climate activists, As You Sow filed a shareholders resolution. As shareholders, they can introduce resolutions that other shareholders can vote on, thereby forcing the company to respond. At Apple and John Deere, shareholders' resolutions have already been filed, and thanks to the success of this one from As You Sow, more filings are likely on the way, said Wines. It's a smart strategy to use your status as a shareholder to raise these kind of issues because it demands a company's response, says Aaron Perzanski, Perzanowski, a law professor at Case Western Reserve University. Why now? The question of timing, Perzanski says, could be arbiter to a combination of public pressure, a desire to go ahead of looming legislation, and growing understanding of the problems of electronic waste. Lots of devices markers in the tech and auto and agricultural spaces are feeling the efforts of public pressure around repairs, says Polanski, and they're being criticized by the press of consumers and the FTC. Microsoft may also be using this as an opportunity to score some public goodwill and stave off potential legislation or regulations that a strategy firm sometimes uses, going along with private efforts so they can convince the government not to pass regulatory laws, says Polanski. There are also business opportunities here, as Wines points out. If Apple, whose iPhone 13 is making headlines for being the most irreparable phone yet, is continued to be so opposed to repairability, Microsoft can take pro-consumer stance and have that be a differentiator to differentiator. Could this compel other companies to follow suit? While tech companies focus on seemingly environmentally friendly, with Apple even hiring a former EPA administrator as its vice president of environment, policies and social incentives, Perzanski points out that this is not always the case. Tech companies like Apple contribute to the storm of e-waste produced annually, and without allowing consumers to fix their own devices, they're ensuring that consumers are forced to buy new ones, creating more waste. Microsoft is more diversified in products and service offerings than a company like Apple, which is reliant on hardware sales for revenue, so this commitment might be easier for Microsoft to make than it would be for a company like Apple, says Polanski. Says Perzanowski. I have a hard time pronouncing that name. Says, what happens next? Monitoring if Apple follows through on its promise will be critical as willing, watching what other policies and interventions Microsoft agrees to moving forward. Microsoft is a member of trade associations that have lobbied against rights to repair bills, so seeing if Microsoft leads those associations will be a defining factor. Microsoft is going to have to follow through, says Wines, but if they do, this can be really big. In statements to Popular Science, a Microsoft spokesperson said the company has been taking steps for years to improve devices repairability to expand the available choices for device repair. Okay, what are my thoughts on this? to me, that's one thing I always liked about older computers, like from the days like 80s, To me, I thought that was the whole goal of back in the day IBM computers. Wasn't that their goal to make more things IBM compatible and make it more easier for people to work and upgrade their devices or whatever the case may be? To me, I remember back in the day growing up around old analog televisions and stuff and being able to see be able to unscrew them and see the inside parts and stuff. And to me, what I don't get is why wouldn't you make your electronic devices like this Samsung Galaxy tablet I got right here? Once this is done for, you just throw it out. But to me, why wouldn't you make a device easy to work on? Why wouldn't you make it so somebody could take the device into a repair shop and have it upgraded where they could upgrade parts and make it easier? To me, it would help sales a lot more, just like cars. When a car breaks down, what do? You take it to a repair shop and you have it fixed. And to me, why wouldn't you make devices easier to work on and stuff? To me, that would actually help out the sale. That's, to me, why I always got fascinated with the older technology, because actually the older technology, it was actually easier to work on and versus the new technology. A lot of these new technologies, you can't hardly work on them. And to me, why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you make something that's going to be easier to work on and easier to repair and stuff? Because to me, you would be creating more jobs out there, because you would have more guys wanting to learn about technology. These technology repair guys, electronic repairmen, you need more of them, because then you'd have more people wanting their electronic devices repaired. So you need more electronic repair guys out there. So and all the way around, you would create more jobs by having people that can repair these, but you're also making money, because then you got to make parts for them. And so therefore you're also making money there, and some company would have to make a bunch of microchips and resistors and screens and stuff and parts, and so you'd be making more money all the way around. It would, to me, be more economic, make more sense to me, in the economic world and stuff. You'd create more jobs and more factories and more businesses, and then too, if you and then you might get more people getting graduating from high school that would be like, hey, I want to become a repairman. To me, it makes perfect sense to make devices repairable. I wish Samsung company would do that with these tablets and make them easier to work on, and then make parts for it. Because then as you make parts for them, just like a car, you can go to an auto parts store and get you a part and go home and work on it yourself if you have the know-how, or take out a repairman. And so, to me, why don't the technology world do that? Because I remember growing up in the 90s having computers, and if you knew what you was doing, you could open up the case and pull out your RAM and put more RAM in, or whatever the case may be, if your motherboard could support the RAM you wanted and stuff, and swapping out hard drives and sloppy disk drives and CD-ROMs and all that stuff. Why wouldn't you? To me, it would make more sense to do that, and I think it would create more jobs. And granted, on something like this, I sure as the world wouldn't know how to repair it, but if it was repairable, I would love to be able to take it to a shop and say, hey, how much would it cost to repair it? Because sometimes repairing your old device, it might be a lot cheaper than going out and buying a whole brand new device and all. But to me, do like what cars do, make TVs, electronics, all that stuff. Make it easier to repair on, and I think you'd create more jobs, but I think you'd have more people interested in buying your products if they know they're going to be easy to work on and repair. You might have that do-it-yourselfer guy that might buy that laptop or that cell phone or speaker or whatever the case may be, he might be a little more willing to buy it if he knows he can repair it. And I think all around it would make money in both ways. You'd make money in the industries that got to build the parts for the devices. You'd make them more money. And then on top of that, more people be willing to buy the device. And then you're also making money over here because the people who don't know how to repair that stuff but would like to get it repaired, those repair shops that can repair that stuff, you're gonna make no more money. And I just personally think all around, letting people be able to repair their devices will make you more money. And then, like they said, there'd be less technology just thrown in a dumpster or in the landfills, and so all the way around, I think it would be a beneficial thing, Because that's what I always kind of liked about the old electronics and stuff, like the old TVs. I grew up with analog televisions, and in the olden days, you could take an old computer, TV, whatever, and unscrew it and be able to diagnose what the problem is and be able to repair it. Nowadays, these new TVs, more, you buy one, it breaks, what do? You gotta throw it in the trash or put it beside the road and put a free sign on it when it breaks. And to me, that's just a waste, because you think about it, that TV might have a broken part in it that allows you not turn it on or off or whatever the case may be, but there's still some good parts in there. But you can't, because you can't fix whatever's wrong. And to me, if you make stuff where it's easier to repair, then I think you're going to all around gain more customers in every aspect and create more money jobs. That's my thought process. I think it should be this rights to repair. I think people should have the rights to be able to buy something and be able to have it repaired or fixed or whatever the case may be. It should be. We should have that in every respect, even in cars, electronics, appliances, you name it. It should be like the good old days where, because I know in cars, I think the rule is if you make a car, you got to have to make parts for about 10 years, and then after 10 years, then have parts stockpiled for about, I think it was 10 years or so, and then, because and to me, I think technology companies like Microsoft, Samsung, Google, Apple, Vizios, and all these electronic companies, I think they would make more money that way if they made it where people could repair their devices. I think it would all around benefit everyone. But yeah, that's my thoughts on this. Is we should make technology like it used to be, where you could repair it. I watch videos of guys repairing vintage technology and doing repair work on electronic old devices and stuff. Like, I recently watched a guy replaced a belt on a vintage cassette player because the cassette player didn't work, and he figured it out. It just needed a new little rubber belt, and he fixed it and got it back working. And I know with new technology nowadays, you couldn't do that. You couldn't open it up and fix it, because even if you could open it up and say, oh, that's the problem, you might not even be able to get the parts, and they say, oh, you got to throw that out and buy a whole new device. And yeah, basically my thoughts are is people should be able to repair their devices instead of have to go out and buy a new one every time they turn around. Like TVs. What if you're just a person that just needs a basic TV that you can just hook up your satellite cable or antenna to, and you don't need all the fancy stuff, and it goes out, and you want to repair it because you like the TV, then you should be able to, and not have to go throw it out and buy the next new model if you don't want to. You should be able to repair your old devices and until it gets to the point where nickels and dimes are like cars. We drive cars and we fix them up and get them going, and keep them running until they get to the point where we decide it's time to get a new one. We should be able to have the rights in all fields, whether it's TVs, appliances, cars, you name it, to be able to repair the work, be able to repair it and fix it up and keep it going for a lot longer, And then if you look at it from an antique standpoint, the longer the devices last, the more people can learn about it later on in the future when they become a part of history. Because that's how, and that will also benefit the history and educational aspect. Because then people can learn from the mistakes of these devices and can learn and say, hey, here's a vintage, if it's repairable and you let people repair your device, then hundreds of years now, children will be in school learning about this device and be able to educate themselves on. And who knows, they might be able to say, okay, I want to build a device like that, but make it 10 times better, That's how, to me, progress is made in the technology world. Because nowadays, a lot of things have already been invented, so now it's okay, how do we improve these inventions? And to me, by making a TV, device, electronic device, whatever the case may be, you're going to help that. And to me, all around, it just makes perfect sense for somebody to be able to repair something. If you make it easy to repair, it's going to benefit so many aspects in life that it's not even funny. Even think about the history. Again, think about the history. Think about hundreds of years from now, when you're dead and gone. Don't you want future generations to be able to look at those devices and say, wow, what's that? Oh, I'll see if I can't repair it. Hey, I got it work. Oh, that's cool. And hell, I love vintage technology. I love record players and technology. Yeah, but the vintage technology I love, the only reason why I'm able to love those things, because back in the day, they made them so people can repair them, so my generation could come along and look at it and say, wow, that's cool. To me, it just makes perfect sense to make it easy to repair things. But, well, I'll stop now because I can keep rambling on about this. But, again, my basic thought is people should have the rights to repair their devices, and companies should make it easier to repair, because it's going to benefit a whole bunch of aspects in life, and all the way around it's going to benefit a lot of people, repairmen, parts companies, you name it. So, yeah, if you like more of these videos, feel free to subscribe to my channel and comment down below what you think, because, I got a ton of videos about different things, and even some comedy videos as well. So if you really like what you see, feel free to subscribe to my channel and comment below your thoughts on this stuff and what you think, And I just hope you all have a beautiful day, and thank you for taking the time to watch my videos, and hope you have a good day.